definitely have got elements of realism and idealism, but they're not as, what is the word, absolute. There's a little bit more flexibility and wiggle room. But anyway, I'm not going to be doing a lot of talking tonight, so I'm hoping that you've done some reading and that we can have some discussion or some questions going. But let's start with pragmatism. Let's move this out the way. There we go. Yeah, anything anybody wants, pragmatism, what you've read, what you've heard, how do you feel about it? Is it something that you could relate to? Do we have a lot of it or too little of it in our education system? You can actually just talk because I can't now see your hands. So you're welcome to unmute and just talk.
Should this not be kind of our go-to in education in South Africa?
Yes, Kavi, why do you say that?
Okay, so I remember a couple of weeks back we had a big discussion around the table about various kind of global social issues, and as a group of like my social group, we all very pragmatic in our approaches to things.
Okay.
The good and the bad and the in between.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what's missing is the pragmatic approach is adaptive enough to adjust to a situation. It's practical.
Yes, it is. It is very practical. Very, very practical. Is there anybody else who wants to add to that? I mean, Kavi's making quite an interesting statement in that don't we need more of this in our education system? Anybody agree, disagree? You'd like to add your thoughts?
Sorry, hi. I agree to that statement because there's not a lot of practical understandings within the classroom. Like when we teach material, and I'm sorry if I'm way off base, but when we teach material, we have to bring in things that the kids relate to, so they're able to kind of physically understand what we're trying to teach them. And we don't have a lot about that in our system. People just use the textbooks and run with it.
Yeah, you're hitting on a big nerve for me there. Yes. Because pragmatism, and as Kavi correctly says, it's about experiencing things and learning through experimentation. Yeah, so yes, all good points, all good points. Anybody else want to add something to the pragmatic kind of like slant for education? How do the pragmatists view knowledge? What is knowledge? Well, yeah, what is knowledge for a pragmatist? Or or should I rather say, how do we gain knowledge?
I think it's by experience.
Yes, exactly that. So if according to the pragmatic philosophy, we cannot integrate or understand or gain any knowledge unless we physically interact with that experience. So and as I forget who the previous, sorry, I'm not, I can't see your names. That's terrible. And I'm not even going to know who's speaking. But as the previous speaker said, is that we don't have enough of that in our classrooms because we're working from textbooks and we are just kind of like going through whatever the textbook says. We're not allowing our learners and our students to actually experience things. Anybody else want to say anything?
But can we not bring not our own experiences, but stuff that we can teach the kids? So, for an example, we were in my grade 4 social science class, we were talking about manufacturing, and I used the example of I can't remember which company it was, but I used a practical example that kids are able to see. Wouldn't that work as well with regards to pragmatism?
Pragmatism, absolutely, Ariana. That's exactly what pragmatism is. So what you're saying is that you went down, you made it concrete enough for your grade fours to actually be able to relate to what you were going to say through something that they know. So in other words, prior knowledge is a big thing. You made sure there were hooks that they could literally relate to what you were going to say to something that is familiar with them. And that is exactly what pragmatism, the philosophy of pragmatism is all about. So yes, definitely, definitely. Anybody else?
I was just wondering, Dr.
Hi,
Shani.
Dr. Shani. So with
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Sunette,
no,
Sunette, you go, and then the next person.
sorry.
No, no, hey, that's me. I'm telling you guys just to talk. All good.
Oh, no problem. I was just wondering who decides what is the right way of doing something? Who decides which practical way is the right way or the correct way? So wouldn't the existentialists and the idealists be the ones that would actually be thinking and debating about these things if they even think about stuff like that? I don't know.
Yes, Sunette, you are spot on. You are spot on. Because with the pragmatist and the realist, okay, the pragmatist is not as absolute as what the realists are, but with them, the truth can change, and the truth and knowledge can change, but it depends on how you experience it and how you engage with it. But the truth is there. It exists independent of the person or of the individual. Whereas you're quite right, from the existentialist point of view, and definitely idealism, but existentialism, you make truth, you make the meaning. So there is no absolute. There's no what is the word? The reality that you experience and the truth that you know and understand exists because you've made meaning out of your situation. So you're quite right. And yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, we kind of need both. Um, but I mean, I think I think from the pragmatist point of view, um, is because they are more focused on practical, real experiences that the teaching or the education, someone who follows a more of a pragmatic approach is going to focus a lot on developing the skills in their learners that they're able to address, real world problems and real situations. Whereas the existentialist is going to, it's more of a unique kind of like individualistic approach. So yes, you are making very good points. Anybody else like to say something about pragmatism? Oh, sorry. Was it
Me,
Cavi? No, somebody else was talking. You may
Talia.
continue now. Yes, Talia. Sorry, go Talia.
So just as this is just food for thought, I work in the School of Hospitality and Service Management, and I'm a lecturer at the institution. And the one thing that we teach a lot is through experience. So in the hospitality industry, we ensure that the students get bartending skills, for example, barista skills. And then we also have a work integrated learning module that's part of the syllabus to assist the students to taking all the theoretical elements that they've learned across the semesters and then put it into practice. So they get placed in industry, which is quite nice. And the students say that they learn way more in the practical elements and using the knowledge that they've gained throughout the semester. So that's something that for in the hospitality industry is extremely important, the experience part.
100, yeah, and you're so right. And I think with education as well, if you, I suppose a lot of professions, I mean, even if you think of the medical profession, law, if you're not actually out there, doing the real thing and experiencing the real thing, you're really just going to get textbook knowledge. But I think in your industry specifically, I mean, that practical component is quite a large chunk of what you do. So yes, that you definitely would have a more of a pragmatic slant to that kind of education. And I mean, um, you mentioned something that made me think of something. So you said something that made me think of the fact that the pragmatic kind of approach is more of a collaboration within the classroom. So it's not the teacher that knows everything or that leads it so much as what there is sort of almost like a democratic process, I suppose, of where the learners or the students are all collaborating together to create their knowledge, and through that experience. So yes, and now I can see Kavi's got his hand up. Yes, please go, Kavi.
Just kind of both obstinate and Talia there. I think when Sinet said like who decides what's the most practical approach, that's a really that's a good
Yes,
question. But
good question. Yes.
I think that the pragmatism leans to the fact that there is no single approach. And then I mean we're just bouncing off what Talia said as well in a very kind of hands-on, especially the hospitality industry, but don't isolate that itself in how many accountants can you speak to, doctors, lawyers, educators, all have a million and one different ways to do the exact same thing.
Yes. Exactly. And it's almost like all these million and one ways of doing the same thing are kind of existing in their own little sort of compartments. And I think that is also a lot more existentialist than pragmatist, because the existentialists are, it's you and the extension of who you are, whereas pragmatist is more collaboration and there was some more integration. That's the word I'm thinking of. It's more of an integration of everything, of life experiences. So exactly, and I think it's a question that I would like us to maybe unpack a little bit more at the end once we've discussed existentialism as well. But who does decide, and what is the best decision? The best way to go. Ariana, you have your hand up.
As teachers, are we able to choose which way we would like to choose? Because I've teach, because obviously in every class we have students who don't all learn the same way. Therefore, we can't just use necessarily one thing, but using pragmatism is something that we kind of have to use so they're able to see it. Am I wrong?
No, you're quite right. And in actual fact, this is part of the purpose of this particular module, is to expose you to all these different philosophies, and that you then take out what works for you, specifically related to either your subject field or a particular subject that you're teaching, but then to actually put together your own philosophy. And it's going to consist of a kind of like a whole, smorgasbord of like a bit of this and a bit of that. And, so no, I don't think it is actually possible to just, my opinion anyway, to just focus on one, particular philosophy in any situation. I think at the end of the day, it's a bit of everything, very eclectic. So yeah, but yes, it's a good observation. And I think, maybe the people who design our curriculum, maybe they should also kind of open up their minds a bit more to, but here's the question actually that I want, sorry, Cavi, you have your hand up? Somebody has their hand up? Let me not talk too much. Somebody.
No, sorry, I took it down.
Are you sure? Uh, okay. Here's the question. If you think of the pragmatic thing of learning by doing, teachers need to be flexible, adaptive. You need to be able to adjust to tie in with real world applications. You working with your learners rooted in their lived experiences. So if you think of that, if you think of the whole kind of pragmatic core in a nutshell, and you say, okay, let us implement this in a South African classroom, what's going to happen? What's going to happen from the teacher's side, and what's going to happen from the learner's side? Yes, Ariana.
Won't it be from the teacher side, is we're able to teach them real life experiences or real life understanding of a situation, as well as physically showing them and having them understand what it what could happen or how they're able to learn through it.
Yes. Now think about what you've just said, because you're right. You're 100% right. Think about what are the implications for that for an educator?
Well, I mean, as an educator, we can't necessarily just go and say everything that we think willy-nilly. Like, we have to consider the demographic of our classrooms and how they will respond with regards to what we've said.
Yes, exactly. You're making perfect sense. How does that impact you as an educator? Think about you you're preparing for the next day's lessons. And
Well, I mean, it
you
kind of, sorry,
no,
I
no,
mean,
no,
with
go.
some of the stuff that we have to teach the kids from the textbook, I mean, that restricts us a little bit because we can't always just use life experiences the way we've seen it, because at the end of the day, what I experience and what a child in my class might experience is a totally different understanding. So it does put us a little bit, it ties our hands a little bit.
It does tie our hands. And what's the other consideration? Kavi, you have your hand up. You make you whatever you're saying is all you're saying is correct. There's one thing that I just want you to think about. If you were to you have decided to take on the pragmatist philosophy, and you're now going to convert yourself and your learners into this philosophy. What
Practical
is it? Yes,
experience.
Kavi, go.
Um, I mean, okay, just to, like, as a preamble here, I'm currently educating, lecturing a module that is unbelievably mundane and boring, and just I'm not happy with how it's been put together, which has left me between a rock and a hard place as well. Because with my other modules that I can bring in energy and excitement to, with this one I am struggling greatly. So the rock and the hard place I find myself between is, do I teach according to the assessment to get the pass rates
To
up,
get it done,
or
yeah.
or even if the pass rate drops, am I equipping them with skills that's going to benefit them, or helping them to develop their own skills that'll benefit them, either repeating it or going into the next year's phase as well. So it's like, what is my best option at the table right now? And the effect that has on me is I'm relying on them too much.
Mm. You realize those are all existentialist questions, right? So
Yeah, which is
yes.
now where I find myself, from trying to find a practical solution, I'm having a conundrum.
You have this angst. Yeah, and you know that, and but and to get back to what Ariana was saying, is that it isn't possible for us, and I think this is kind of the point I want to make with my question, is that from a teacher's point of view, your preparation time is going to go through the roof, because you have to prepare practical experiential learning. You have to be adaptable, you have to be flexible, you have to integrate with all the other subjects that the learners are involved with. You need to work on collaborating with your learners in the classroom. You are going to be absolutely finished and exhausted. And so to have like a bit of a I mean, you say you're in a rock and a hard place, but I mean, a conundrum for a pragmatist is going to be not practical, to kind of really apply all of those. But as Ariana also correctly said, and Talia, is that there are certain subjects that definitely benefit from this approach. So what is your subject, Kavi, that's so boring?
Oh no, it's a legal literacy
Oh,
module,
okay,
and
say no more.
it's, yeah, and I try to make it exciting, but it's try to link it to real world applications as far as possible, but there's only so many deviations I can take before I completely go off topic.
Yeah, that's true. I can just imagine. Yeah, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, some things you just have to kind of just, I suppose, especially in the law faculties and the law subjects, just you just have to know them. Um, yeah, like a theory. So yeah, that's quite rough. Ariana, your hand is up. Is there anybody else who wants to comment after Ariana?
Sorry, I just want to speak about the law faculty. Would that not then kind of put us back in, I want to say, the like 25 years ago, where it was strictly the teacher was speaking and you were just taking the knowledge? There was no in-class discussion, but wouldn't that necessarily kind of be the only way to do that module?
Yeah, sure. I'm not in, I don't lecture any law. So is there anybody in the group that lectures law? Okay, Kavi, you hinted to lecturing a law
Yeah,
module.
well, yeah, I suppose. I mean, like when it comes to case law and stuff like that, it's this is what it is. This is the information you need to know. But then when it comes to laws, you can facilitate a lot of hearty debate and applications in the real world of it.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a lot of um, uh, case studies or case examples and then debate about them in the classroom. Yeah, caseload. I was also thinking of that. Oh, I think this thing, let me just hide this transcript. Otherwise we can just watch ourselves talking. But yes, I think we just need to realize that there are some subjects that lean themselves towards this, others that don't. And that if you were to try, and be a little bit more pragmatic in your classroom, it's going to take work from you because it's a lot of prep. It's not just, having a look at the textbook and saying, okay, this is what we're going to do tomorrow. But how am I actually going to get my learners to learn this? Not by me telling them, but by them experiencing it. And I think that opens up a whole new kind of like approach. And on the flip side, I think there would be chaos. I don't know. Maybe not with the older children, but with the little ones, come, let's see how we can experience, I don't know, 3 phases of water today. So yeah, yes. Is it Bhavna? Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, you are.
Bhavna, okay.
Apologies for the way I sound. I got
No,
what
no.
I like to call teacher sickness for talking
Oh,
too much.
oh, end
Um,
of termitis. Yeah, all good, all good.
God, it's so annoying. Anyway, as far as pragmatism goes, I found it like relatively easy for me. I mean, it is taxing some days on my poor little brain. Um, but in general, with my subjects like natural science and especially EMS, it was very easy for me to integrate real life experiences for my grade fours to sevens. However, with technology, I was struggling. For the life of me, nothing was coming to my brain. So I was like, this is meant to be easy. What is going on? I genuinely don't know. But I mean, that's just my experience with it. Everyone's different in the way they experience it.
Yeah, sure. No, that is. And it's also very, it's very personal and I mean, it's objective, but it's also very subjective because as I think it was Ariana that also said, I mean, we have our own wealth of experience and to bring that to the table without necessarily influencing them in any way so they can have their own experience. So yeah, it is very um um, what's the word? In a way, subjective, and I think it could be taxing. Um, let's see. Nina says the context of higher education, more students would feel the value of the money we're receiving pragmatically. Yeah, whereas in the other philosophies, yes, and I agree with that. And I think, I mean, I have to be really honest and say I think we could have more of it in our lectures and um, in our teaching, but I think lecturers and teachers shy away from it because it is effort. And yeah, you have to be well prepared. You can't just walk into a class and say, okay, today I'm going to teach in a practical way, and you haven't prepared anything or brought anything with, so yeah, whatever. Yeah, so that it is difficult, but I do think it adds value, and I do think there is space for it. Um, okay, I'm just going through here because I'm wondering if I've missed someone. Has everybody said what they wanted to say? Anybody else want to say anything before? Mm, okay, so yeah, I've basically just flipped through the slides as we've been talking, but it's really just I've just jotted down 1 or 2 things just so that it is part of the recording for reference later. But let's move on to existentialism, otherwise we're going to be running out of time. So existentialism, and we've kind of touched on it a little bit, um, but it's a lot more, it's a little bit leaning more towards idealism. Not so much, because idealism, is all about the perfect world of ideas, whereas the existentialist is, the reality is not what's the word, independent of you. So there isn't a reality that exists outside of your experience of that reality. So and reality has only meaning to us as we make the meaning, or as we decide what meaning to make through our choices. So existentialism was quite popular in its day because yeah, it wasn't as sort of realist and pragmatic as on the realist and pragmatic side, and it wasn't quite as airy-fairy and fluffy as idealism. So it was a little bit more of, it's about me. It was a lot about the individual, a lot about the sort of uniqueness and personal experiences of the individual. So yeah, what can you guys, after reading and watching and thinking, what do you want to comment or say about existentialism? How does it resonate with you? Let me see hands. Just going to put it on the next one. Anybody? Oh, I thought I'd just closed you all down. Oh my goodness. Anybody want to say anything about existentialism? Okay, Cavi's busy typing away like crazy. Yeah,
Nah, okay,
yes,
no, yeah,
yes. Oh,
got over the
good.
typing.
Talking. All right, off you go.
I don't know. It was like trying to. Oh, okay, yeah. It was almost, when I was reading up on it and watching that video was pretty awesome though, with that crisis at the end there. But I think
Oh,
my biggest takeaway from it was that you can't learn from my experience or something to that extent.
yes, that's exactly what it is. Yes, 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 yes. That is existentialism in a nutshell. Yeah, very nice, tight one, but well done. Yes, Ariana.
But then that would also tie in with what I said earlier, is like you cannot put your own experiences on the kids. You have to give them something concrete that they know, enable for them to do it. Therefore, like um, the previous speaker said, like you won't be able to understand my what I'm doing if I don't teach you something in a more concrete way for you to understand it that you have lived through.
Yes, I think I get what you're meaning. So in other words,
Okay.
the existentialist approach is, and you're quite right, it's not about you projecting your meaning or your experience onto them, but it's you facilitating their meaning making. So um it's definitely student, actually they're both student centered, both of these philosophies, but in an existentialist classroom, you are facilitating the growth and the self-discovery of your students. So you're not guiding the experience. You don't have an end goal. Whereas with pragmatism, you have an end goal. You're going and you're saying, okay, today my students are going to experience 3 phases of water. Whereas with an existentialist, you might have the 3 phases of water in your classroom, and then you allow them to make meaning out of it. What does this mean for you? What does it mean that, this is liquid, and whatever the case may be? So um, in that, and it's hectic, because in an existentialist classroom, you have to focus on the individual. It's not collaborative learning like with the pragmatist. It's not collaborative, correct? Oh my goodness, collaboratively creating or making knowledge. It's about, where is the individual in this, and how do I guide this individual to make meaning out of this, whatever it is that you wanting to teach, or whatever. Now I'm talking too much. Don't get me started on existentialism. I'll just carry on forever. Right, Ariana, your hand. Is that an old hand, new hand? Oh no, that's somebody else. Oh, it's Nina. Yes, go Nina.
Hello. Dr. Shine, would you say that existentialism then kind of leans towards using the schematic method for learning?
Say again, which method?
The schematic
The
method.
schematic.
Yeah.
The schematic.
What's this guy's name?
Oh, the Socratics.
Socratic.
Sorry, that word. I think I misled you there. I think
Oh
that's
my
what you
goodness.
said, and I didn't hear you. Socratic method. Um,
Socratic.
in a way, yes. In a way, yes. Because Socrates developed this, and I mean, he in any case was an idealist, and existentialism does lean towards idealism. But that's exactly what he wanted his students to experience. He wasn't so interested in what they were learning. He was interested in what that learning meant to them, and did they really, in other words, he was very focused on people. Let's say somebody in your class makes an assumption or makes a statement, and they say, oh goodness, now of course I can't think of any. My word, let's say, it's very good and healthy for you to run 10 Ks a day. The Socratic method it's not going to deny or agree with that statement at all, but the teacher is going to unpack that or help the student unpack that statement until they get down to their core belief and their core understanding and what really has meaning for them as to where this statement came from. If that makes sense? I don't know if I'm making sense. So yes, I
Mhm, mhm.
100% agree with you. I think you're making a very good point, Nina, that the Socratic method definitely fits in with existentialism.
But like, would
Anybody
it be,
else?
Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
would it be safe to argue or even state that any kind of methodology or go-to type of education we use, one way or another, does end up
Mm,
having an existential outcome?
mm, mm.
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. What does everybody else think?
Yeah, essentially because the greatest way to learn anything is to relate it to yourself. It's one thing to like stand and try to, even with like I assume lore, where you try to teach this boring thing, but if the students do not relate to what you're teaching, then it kind of just goes in one ear and out the other. I don't know if I'm making
No,
sense.
you're making perfect sense, and you're quite right. It has to have meaning for them. There has there has to be something in there that, and I think this is lacking in a lot of our lecture rooms and classrooms. I don't think it's intentionally done, but I think unintentionally we are. Again, we don't have the time. We've got 30, 40 in a lecture room, 200 students sitting in front of us. We don't have the time to assist each of those unique individuals to make meaning out of what we want to teach them. So, but yet, I'm sure if we really, I don't know, maybe became really creative with our curriculum for one, then our, teaching strategies could slot into that, and we could actually um, help help our students to grow, to kind of, as Nina said, to attach to something, something in there has to have meaning for me as to, otherwise, why am I going to kind of sit here and take up time to listen and learn what you're saying, or understand what you're saying. So yeah, no, I love that. You guys are definitely on the right path. And I mean, the whole existentialist um anxiety, which Kavi was talking about as well, is that um, this is our students and our pupils and our learners and whoever are thinking, or those who worry about big life questions. And this is what the extensionists believe, is that if we as teachers are going to allow our students to go there, to ask those difficult questions, and to debate and discuss, and yes, in that experience the anxiety, but through that to grow and to stretch, and to learn. So yeah, sorry, I keep saying I'm not going to talk a lot. I want you guys to talk. Anybody else? There's a lot of you that are very quiet. Nobody else? Have any of you watched The Dead Poets Society? I know it's an old movie, but hey, it's my generation. No? Now I really feel old. Please tell me somebody in this team has watched The Dead Poets Society with Robin Williams. No, I feel so old now. Oh my word. Please see if you can get it and watch it. I don't know, on Netflix or oh, have you, Ariana? Oh, thank you. Oh, Diana also has. Oh, gee, I feel so much better now. Um, but if you haven't, do yourself a favor, try and watch it. This Mr. Keating, who's the music no, he's not, he's the English teacher. Sorry, I'm thinking of Mr. Holland's opus now, but he's the English teacher, and he is a typical existentialist teacher. His whole philosophy in his classroom was about giving his learners experience outside of their textbook. I mean, in one of the scenes, he actually gets them to tear up the textbook. And this obviously, goes against all the norms and all what is expected of him. It's in one of these traditional, British schools or American English schools or whatever. But a brilliant. Oh, is it on Disney Plus? Okay, great. Please watch it if you haven't. If you watch him, he is typical existentialist. Brilliant, brilliant movie. But there's another one. There's that Mr. Holland's Opus, which is also forget the name of the actor, but that's also very existentialist. And you will find a lot of the movies on teachers and education they're those kind of teachers. And the reason why they're so popular and people enjoy watching them is because we really need this in our education system. We need teachers to stand up and be different. And yeah, but any other comments on existentialism? Yeah, Ariana's busy typing. Let me go back to, I think I was on the last slide. Oh, there's one more. Okay. So I'm just going to do a very quick summary then of existentialism, and then there's another 5 or so minutes left if there's anybody who wants to ask or discuss anything. If not, I can also just quickly say 1 or 2 things about your assignment. But I think we've pretty much touched on pragmatism and existentialism quite well. I think, thank you very much for those of you. I can hear that you've read and engaged with the material. It always makes the class so much better because then, yeah, you've thought about it and you have questions and ideas and kind of discussion points. But I think, yeah, all I really just still want to say about existentialism is that for for the pragmatist, your knowledge is acquired through experience, and whereas with the existentialist, you don't just acquire knowledge. There has to be meaning. It has to be personal meaning, and you've all kind of touched on that. It's also for the teacher, you need to be able to create that environment where your learners are free to choose. And again, can you just imagine, 30, 40 children, you would have to set up, I don't know, meaning making stations around your classroom and allow them to explore and to choose. But in that they have to take responsibility, and there are consequences if they don't. But it's really difficult to manage. But we can touch on a bit of existentialism in our classrooms, and I think specifically in South Africa, where we can allow our students and our learners to be who they are, and to be okay with that, and to be respectful of others. So, and I think that's one of the things with existentialism is helping our students to be authentic and to be okay with being their true selves. Um, so yeah, and it's the students need to take that responsibility, and they need to um, kind of find their meaning and make sure that their learning is significant. But I mean, that's not always easy. So that's kind of pragmatism and existentialism in a nutshell. Um, is there anything anybody else would still like to add? or comment on, oh, somebody's Casey is Casey. I definitely agree with that. If I look specifically at my pragmatism extension, my line of work, as a work integrated learning coordinator, preparing students in class with a pragmatic foundation ensures that they have the tools they need while the existential aspect truly comes into play where they take ownership. Yes, I love this, Casey. Running community projects, navigating uncertainty and reflecting on their journey aligns perfectly with existential principles of authentic. Oh, wow, this is great. Gee, you could just copy and paste this into your essay. This not only fosters professional growth. Yes, well, I love that, Casey. Gee, that was very, very fast typing there. Divergent. Yes, Sunette. Yes, that actually also ties in really nicely. Divergent. Yeah, I remember that, yeah, very vaguely. I must actually go watch it again. There must be a more, recent movie that kind of aligns with these philosophies. Yeah, that the younger generation. Maybe that could be your project to go and source some of these movies for us. But okay, anything else? These are two reasonably, I would say, not so much. Yeah, I think they are. I think there are two of the more easier to handle and get a handle on philosophies compared to the rest. And I think it's because they tie in so nicely with education. The others, yeah, we need to angle and slant them a little bit, but these two philosophies really do work well in education. Anything else from your side? Yo, there's a whole screen full of people here that haven't said anything. You guys all okay? Trisha, Akona, Tando, Nerisse, Swayam, Sue. Okay, Casey has said something. Yanku, Triviani. You guys all right? Very quiet tonight. It's been a rough week. I understand, Lakeisha. I get it. And you know what? I'm just so grateful you're all here. That means more to me than anything else. It's really tough. Online is one thing, but online with no students is another thing. So there's a good question you can work on this week. So when you are teaching online and there aren't any students, are you actually still teaching? There's a good philosophical question for you for the week. Okay, so I'm not going to oh no, shame, Sure. You know, there's a tummy bug going around. Just about every second person I speak to either has it or knows someone who has it. So, oh yeah, shame. Poor person. And you're still attending the class. Oh, yeah, no, I hope I haven't made you feel more nauseous. Listen, I'm just going to quickly, I'm not going to go through it in detail. Read the articles, but feeling lost. You guys are moving. Tondo, don't worry. Don't worry. Please don't worry. You will catch up. And I'm going to now quickly show you what I'm going to be posting for your, oh, I keep forgetting. I need to get out of this first before I stop sharing. What I'm going to be posting for help for your first assignment. And I really try and make it as simple and easy to understand. I'm going to give you a quick glance. I'm not going to take up much more of your time. Where are you? I've lost you. Oh, here you are. All right, let me quickly just show you. So what I've done, no, not that one. What I've done is I've put together an infographic and I've unpacked each of the questions in the assignment. So and I've told you exactly how the mark allocation is going to work because the assignment, the rubric is very it's very difficult to understand the rubric. So I'm unpacking it like this. I've done this for each question. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to record myself explaining each of these questions to you. And then I'm going to make sure that that is uploaded by Thursday. I'm going to try and do it for tomorrow, but definitely by Thursday when I upload your to do for the next week. then I will upload this as well. So just so that you know that your first assignment, I promise you, it is not going to be complicated. And once you've done that first one, then you're kind of in a rhythm and you're going to go with it. I think I can't remember. Have I looked at your? I don't think I've given anybody feedback on your ICE tasks. I want to do that this weekend. Yeah, so that you also kind of have an idea of the way that you're writing. I know I uploaded a philosophy writing kind of like little video thing as well. You can kind of watch in between 2 and 3 in the morning. I don't know what do you do between 2 and 3 in the morning, but watching philosophy videos is a good thing. It's a good way to put you to sleep. Yeah, it is overwhelming, Nerisse. I really do get it. And that's why, you know, for me, I don't, the whole idea is not to put stress on you. I mean, you have enough stress already. So, and just doing a course part-time, I don't know, I really admire all of you with full-time jobs and then come home and you still got to focus on studying. So yeah, I try to take out the sting as much as I possibly can. Bhavna, you have something, your hand is up?
Hi. Yes. I had a quick question because I know that every lecturer, sorry, is very different when it comes to handing in assignments and all of that. Are you pedantic about format and like colors? And as long as it's structured and you understand where everything is that fine?
Yes, no, listen, I'm
Okay.
not, yeah, no, I really, and I don't even do word counts. Some people get very wrapped around word counts. You know, for me, you know, some people can say something in 5 words, other people need 10 sentences, and who am I to say what's right and what's wrong? You know what I mean? So
I got you.
I just feel you know, keep it short to the point, but if you feel you need 3 sentences to explain something, then by all means. I'm also not too phased about line spacing and all those kind of things. My things that I do check on is obviously your referencing and your
Yeah.
in-text, and obviously to a certain extent to lay out your essay. So, well, obviously there has to be a flow. So
Yeah.
you'll see when I do the when I give you a rough sort of outline as to how to answer each question, yeah, that kind of also helps with the flow. So if you kind of look at, you know, move from the one aspect into the other, then it also assists me when I mark. But I also know, you know, with academic essays, you don't do headings and things like that. So I don't expect headings and stuff, but yeah, no, you know what? Introduction, conclusion, whatever you want to say in the middle with proper referencing, that's me.
Okay,
Okay
cool.
with that.
Just checking. Thank you.
Okay, no, pleasure. Thanks for asking. I mean, that's an important question. Any other questions? I know now we're not actually going to have a live session. Oh, no, we do have one next week. Oh, that's helpful. Okay. So next week when we chat, then if you in the meantime can have a look at the assignment recording, and then if there are any questions, we can sort them out then. Okay. You all good? I hope you can go and have a little race now, and your significant other has made you a lovely plate of supper, and the wine has been poured, and it's nice and cold, and they've put a stool by your feet, and you can put your feet up, and there you go. Do you all feel better now? Okay, guys. You have a super evening, a lovely week, and oh, it's long weekend. Oh, just enjoy. I know we're all working, but it's okay. It's different venues. You don't have to go into the office. Have a good evening. I will chat to you again next week, Tuesday. Goodbye.